Harold and the Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson. One evening, after thinking it over for some time, Harold decided to go for a walk in the moonlight. There wasn't any moon, and Harold needed a moon for a walk in the moonlight. And he needed something to walk on. This is an organic line. Can you say organic? Organic. Organic lines are lines without names. They're difficult to repeat over and over again, and they're usually free form. This is a horizon line. It's also called horizontal. It's nice and flat, and what Harold drew here is a way of separating the land from the sky. So he went from drawing all this free form picture to drawing something very specific. He's separating the paper to ground and sky. And this is different than the organic lines over here. The horizon line is very specific. Someone in Massachusetts could know the name of this line, and someone in California. So in very different parts of the world, people will know this line by name and be able to draw it over and over again the same way. Harold made a long straight path so he wouldn't get lost, and he set off on his walk, taking his big purple crayon with him. But he didn't seem to be getting anywhere on the long straight path, so he left the path for a shortcut across a field, and the moon went with him. On this page, we have geometric lines. Geometric lines are well known. They have a name. They can be repeated over and over again. They're easily recognizable and have very specific names. Just like you have a name, this line is diagonal. It has a very specific name. Horizontal. It creates a nice horizon line. This is a shape. It's where two lines or more come together and the form is closed. The lines don't leave any openings. All the lines and edges touch. So we have a crescent here. Can you say croissant? You ever eaten a croissant for breakfast? This is a crescent moon. The shortcut led right to where Harold thought a forest ought to be. He didn't want to get lost in the woods, so he made a very small forest with just one tree in it. This is a vertical line. Can you say vertical? Vertical. It's nice and tall and straight like a flagpole. It's the opposite of this horizon line right here. It turned out to be an apple tree. The apples would be very tasty, Harold thought, when they got red. Harold put a very frightening dragon under the tree to guard the apples. It was a terribly frightening dragon. It even frightened Harold. He backed away. His hand holding the purple crayon shook. This is called a landscape. Can you say land? Very good. Landscape. Landscape. Very good. A landscape is a picture of anything on land. So it could be a tree, it could be an animal, it could be a mountain, it could be a house. The majority of the picture would be land. So this is a landscape. Let's see what happened to Harold. Suddenly, Harold realized what was happening. But by then, he was over his head in an ocean. He came up thinking fast, and in no time, he was climbing aboard a trim little boat. Phew! Harold set sail quickly, and the moon sailed along with him. After he'd sailed long enough, Harold made land without much trouble. On this page, we have a different kind of picture. It has a different name. It's called an oceanscape. Can you say ocean? Ocean. Very good. Oceanscape. Yeah, it's a view of the ocean. Majority of the picture is water, is ocean. So we have water and the boat, and we have Harold. It's enough to call it an oceanscape. And back here we have the landscape. So we're seeing a little theme here. We have landscape and oceanscape. Harold stepped ashore on the beach, wondering where he was. The sandy beach reminded Harold of picnics, and the thought of picnics made him hungry. So he laid out a nice, simple picnic lunch. Here we have the shoreline. Lines are everywhere. In this case, a shoreline is where the water and the shore, the sandy beach, are touching and making an edge. So lines are everywhere because art is everywhere and is everything. If you look at the bottoms of your shoes, you'll see little lines and designs and patterns on the bottoms of your shoes. You can look on the ceiling for lines, the windows, the walls, the doors all form lines, the legs of tables. So you can start looking around because art is everywhere in everything. Even the letters in this word are lines. There was nothing but pie at Harold's picnic, but they were all 9 kinds of pie that Harold liked best. When Harold finished his picnic, there was quite a lot left. He hated to see so much delicious pie go to waste. In this picture, we see a blanket with lots of pie on it. In art, we call this a still life. Can you say still? Still. Still lifes are objects that do not move. They don't need a snack break, a water break. They can sit still for long periods of time, like an apple on a table. It's usually a small object that can sit inside your house on a table on a rainy day, for example. Toys make great still life. Fruit, bowls, plates, whatever you have in your home that can sit on a table and sit still for a very long period of time that doesn't mind you drawing it. A squirrel is not going to sit still very long. It's going to scamper off and be difficult to draw. So the opposite of a squirrel, like small toys make great still life objects. All right, let's check out what happened next. Ooh. So Harold left a very hungry moose and a deserving porcupine to finish it up. And off he went, looking for a mountain to climb to see where he was. Harold knew that the higher up he went, the further he could see. So he decided to make the hill into a mountain. When we draw animals, we call this a wildlife illustration. When we draw wildlife, wild animals move around a lot. They're looking for food, shelter, water. So sometimes it's easier to draw wildlife from a photograph or a book or a magazine, for example, because it can be frustrating drawing a bird and having it fly away as soon as you start to add the details. So we call this type of picture a wildlife illustration. Harold went high enough, he thought, he could see the window of his bedroom. He was tired, and he felt he ought to be getting to bed. Harold hoped he could see his bedroom window from the top of the mountain. And you guessed it, we call this a mountainscape. When the majority of the picture, when the most amount of space is filled with a mountain, we call this a mountainscape picture. Can you say mountain? Mountainscape. Very good. Mountainscape. The picture of a mountain or many mountains. But as Harold looked down over the other side, he slipped, and there wasn't any other side of the mountain. He was falling in thin air. But luckily, he kept his wits and his purple crayon. He made a balloon and grabbed onto it, and he made a basket under the balloon big enough to stand in. Harold had a fine view from the balloon, but he couldn't see his window. he couldn't even see a house. So he made a house with windows and landed the balloon on the grass in the front yard. And he used this beautiful horizon line right here to make a separation, to make ground and the sky behind it. Here we have curvilinear. You say curvilinear? Curvilinear. Curvilinear lines are curvy and wavy, and linear lines are the opposite. They are more straight, sharp, pointed. They're opposite. So Harold's using opposite kinds of lines here to draw this hot air balloon. Architectural illustrations is just a fancy way of saying that Harold has drawn a building, a house, a building. Anytime we're drawing those kinds of things, that type of art has a name. It's called architectural illustrations. None of the windows was Harold's window. He tried to think of where his window ought to be. He made some more windows. He made a big building full of windows. Wow. Harold doesn't give up. He perseveres. He made lots of buildings full of windows. He made an entire city full of windows. But none of the windows was his window. He couldn't think of where it might be. He decided to ask a policeman. The policeman pointed the way Harold was going anyway, but Harold thanked him. You guessed it, friends. When we have a picture that is majority of city, what do you think we're going to call it? You guessed it. Cityscape. Can you say city? City. Very good. Cityscape. So a cityscape is a view of the city. It sounds a lot like landscape, oceanscape, mountainscape. They all have this word scape as part of them. The view is a wide view. And we also have this word here, figure drawing. Figure drawing, you can think like action figure. Action figure. Action figures are little toys, dolls that we play with. And figure drawing is when we draw the feet to the top of the head. We have the whole person. That's a figure drawing. Harold walked along with the moon, wishing he was in his room and in bed. Then suddenly Harold remembered. He remembered where his bedroom window was. When there was a moon, it was always right around moon. The good news is Harold was never lost. He was always where he was supposed to be. Harold made his bed, got in, drew up the covers. The purple crayon dropped onto the floor, and Harold dropped off to sleep. Good night, Harold. Good night, Purple Crayon. Good night, storybook. Thanks for reading with me.